Bryan Mbeumo again. Like, he has the inevitable celebration now.
In Bryan Mbeumo, we've got one of the best players in the Premier League.
We lose the ball. I'm talking like Olympic,
Yeah.
you know, like hands up,
Head back.
that sprint.
That kind of running.
Yeah.
Wings.
Do you know what? That's the big difference, actually, to this Manchester United team, to the one that Ruben Amorim inherited. And we are talking, aren't we, on the 1 year anniversary of him coming in.
Yeah.
There are so many leaders. You know, Cunha is a leader. Maguire, with the way that he's sort of built his career back up again, has shown great leadership skills.
A lot of fighters.
Another. And I see Mbeumo a little bit like that as well, to be fair.
We can't afford to have any more losses because he's now finally won more games, 22, than he's lost, 21.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
And he's now lost less than Ernie Slot, hasn't he?
But he frustrated me with those two chances.
Yeah.
You know, I just felt it was a game changer.
Leave it up to the other fan bases to criticise him. That's what I've said
we
about
need
that.
to- exactly,
we need to protect him
agree
right
with
now and just know what we're getting in Sesko.
We're used to such poor standards. Like, he makes a double save and we're like, oh my God, and the fans
And
are
there
doing
were
it in the
saves they
stadium.
absolutely should.
But I'm really enjoying it.
I've been to Anfield, been to the Etihad, played Chelsea at home, been to Spurs. I'm going to stick with it. I think 5th, and that'll be enough for Champions League football.
Hello and welcome to Inside Devils, sponsored by talkSPORT Bet, the show that keeps you bang up to date with every single thing going on inside Old Trafford. And it's been another game and it's been another draw, another 2-2 draw. And to go through it, we've got our esteemed panel as usual, of course, talkSPORT's Angelina Kelly, Ryon Scott-Douglas, who hasn't really bought any stats in a little while.
Hey, listen, I've got a few for you
got
today.
a few?
I've got a
Right.
few. I've got a few.
And of course, Alex Crook as well is on the other end of the line. He couldn't be bothered to join us today. He's chilling at home. It's international
At least
break.
he's staying for the whole show.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
He's not just making a
Allegedly,
famed
we
appearance.
don't know.
Yeah,
Hang
actually, don't speak too soon. Crookie, we'll start with yourself. Another draw, another point. Is it still a step in the right direction? No unbeaten in the last 5. Difficult place to go to, Spurs, for us recently. Backed up from another difficult place to go to the week before at Forest. Is it a step in the right direction, or was you disappointed and do you see it as a point or 2 points dropped?
Do you know what? I think there's an argument to be made for both. Clearly, it is a step in the right direction. 5 games unbeaten, a ground where United have struggled in recent seasons. So to come away with a point, particularly having fallen behind so late, I thought showed great character to make sure that they kept the unbeaten run going. But at 1-0 up, Tottenham playing poorly. I don't want to pick on individuals, but Benjamin Sesko comes off the bench. He's had 2 great opportunities. The first one when Mason Mount has slid it through to him and he just took too long to get the ball out from under his feet. The second one when he's obviously ended up injuring himself, and I was told yesterday actually the knee injury is not as serious as maybe United feared. He's going to miss international duty but should be back fairly soon after the restart. It's just got to hit the ball. Just get the shot away early, and if United go 2-0 up, we win the game. So there's an air of frustration that they've ended up snatching a draw from the jaws of defeat in a game that actually I think they probably controlled for large parts and should have won.
Yeah, and for you, I know you do look at the positive sides as well, which we have to. We did touch on it there. It is unbeaten in 5 still. They're not losing games. Has the ship been steadied for you? Have we got a little bit of calm we've been looking for?
It feels that way, I guess, because we've been burned by last season. You feel a little bit of momentum building and you fear that it's going to, all collapse. But yeah, 5 games unbeaten. Feels a little bit like deja vu with the Nottingham Forest game, but both those games last season we lost. So I think the fact that we've come away with draws from both of those fixtures, that does show progression. And also, when you look at how the managers were speaking post-match, Ruben Amorim was frustrated, said that the win was there. Thomas Frank seemed, almost kind of happy with the point. So the fact that that's the mentality that we've got now is not just we're getting better, but we should be winning these games. So yeah, I think it was a frustrating one. I was actually I know that you were at the game. I was at a WSL game at the time, so I was listening via talkSPORT, and it just seemed to come out of nowhere that it seemed pretty mediocre at times. Man United being in control, and then suddenly in 11 minutes you've got 3 goals, and Richarlison's nearly crying, ripping his shirt off, thinking that he's won the game. One of the highlights for me. Also the booing from the Spurs fans, and then Tell scores the goal, and yeah, that kind of ridiculousness.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that.
Ridiculousness is a really good way to describe that afternoon. It really was. Ryan, 2 shots for us.
Yeah.
2 shots on target, 2 goals. good away from home, or should we be expecting more?
I'd want to see more. Don't get me wrong, of course. But ultimately, the way that the game unravelled. First of all, we talk about Richarlison. You couldn't get a player that suits Spurs more than Richarlison, could you? Ripping off his shirt and ending up getting a draw.
He was nearly in tears.
But he played, honestly, he played so bad.
I know.
De Ligt had him in his pocket the whole game, and when he scored that, I was like, we haven't let him do this.
This is unjust.
Him do this, of all players.
Yeah.
That,
I know.
And, he gets his comeuppance. But yeah,
it was embarrassing. And you would talk about De Ligt there. He kind of appeals for offside, and then he sees Ugarte behind him. You see the moment, and he's like, oh dear. You see the moment on his face. But again, sticking with De Ligt, a deserved goal given his form this season. I was so happy to see him at the back stick and heading that in. It was a great end to the game. I was frustrated because we played so well at portions of the game, Flex, but I have to say the way the game unravelled, that last 10 minutes, I thought we were going to walk away again pointless. So to get the point, I was happy, all things considered, that we could walk away with the point. And as Ange said there, we talk about those minute bits of progression. Ultimately, they pulled our pants down at every opportunity last season. We get a point. We move on. I think it's actually a good point in hindsight.
Crookie, how did you see it from the team perspective, the team selection perspective? Because I was speaking to a lot of fans in the aftermath of the game, and some of them were suggesting that they think that Amorim paid Spurs a little bit too much respect in terms of breaking up that partnership between Amad and Mbeumo, and basically they were still in partnership, but in the 10 instead of Amad being at right wing back, bombing on. And he went quite conservative with Mazraoui in there. Didn't start Sesko. Cunha up front. Cunha didn't play well. Did you have any sort of issues with the team selection beforehand?
No, not overly. To be honest, I was surprised to see Mazraoui in the 11 because he's sort of become the forgotten man. But obviously, I've got no problem with Amad playing a bit higher up the pitch in the 10. I thought it worked well, particularly in the first half. That front trio of Cunha and Mbeumo and Amad caused Tottenham all kinds of problems. Obviously, all three linked up for the goal. I think it was absolutely the right thing to do to take Diogo Dalot out of the firing line, even though I'm not, nor is Angelina, a massive fan of Patrick Dorgu.
Don't get her started.
Harry Maguire tends to start these big games away from home, doesn't he? So that wasn't a surprise. But I think it's maybe more about the in-game management. Mason Mount did well when he came on, but did Cunha need to go off at that point?
I think he was terrible, Crookie, to be honest. That was as bad as I've seen him play. But I get it, in the first half, he was part of that move where I think he gave the ball to Amad, didn't he? And, but the second half, he just went past the ball, guys. I don't know, it was quite out of character for him. He's been good. I've got no problem with Cunha. I really like him. But I felt like there was a lot made about Ruben making the changes in this game. Fans were saying, again, his substitutions have ruined it again. But he made substitutions when we're 3-0 up against Brighton, and you're thinking we should be able to. Then the next game against Forest, he's a bit worried about making substitutions, so he doesn't. Sesko probably needed to come off that day. He doesn't make the subs, and then Amad gets the equaliser. This one, you could see that Spurs were in the ascendancy in the second half. They weren't as poor as they were in the first, and I was like, you got to change something here. He said Casemiro asked to come off. He said that, Dorgu was on a yellow card, and Cunha, Crookie, for me, wasn't playing the best. But what do you think about his substitutions? Do you think they were needed, or could you see some people's point that, again, it looks like we've made changes and then lost all control of the game, and Casemiro asked to come off?
Yeah, well, listen, again, I can see both sides. Obviously, Casemiro asked to come off. There's nothing you can do. I think Ugarte is struggling, and it was interesting, actually, to read the sort of deep dive in The Athletic this morning about Ruben's first year in charge, that it wasn't just Garnacho that he turned on after the Europa League final. He also questioned whether Ugarte was just playing a bit too much in his comfort zone. I think we're probably still seeing that. Euro for Maguire. I mean, it's that change again, isn't it? Changing one of the back three in the last 20 minutes, which has been a big bugbear of mine. And can you not trust Dorgu just to get through the last 12 minutes without getting himself booked for a second time? So I do think he made too many changes, and I do think that handed momentum back to Tottenham.
Yeah, what about you, Ryan? Do you think there was too many changes made, or do you see it as, It's just what we had to do.
He's one of those managers that trusts his gut. You know, he said that multiple times. I mean, I was thinking about Angie's stat about Casemiro. So, you know, when you see him go off, you think, uh-oh. And that's kind of what happened. You know,
every time he leaves the pitch, we
yeah,
can see
yeah.
goals.
It makes you think. I would love to, and I might do it myself. Have just a deep dive and dissect all of the games that, you know, that he's played this season, and see just how big the influence is and why that is the case. But clearly, we faltered when he came off. But ultimately, yes, we did hand the momentum back to Spurs, but we had that character, like I say, right at the end to claw it back. I think last season we completely capitulate. I mean, my head was in my hands when that second goal went. I thought this is so unjust, and it was so late on. I ultimately, yes, in hindsight, he probably did make too many changes, but I do think, and I'm sure we'll get into it in a little bit, we're seeing signs that he's adjusting his tactics, which we were all when he was in that Bayern run saying, well, he's not going to do that. He's not going to pivot. He's not going to adapt. And he is adapting. So ultimately, yes, the changes he might have made, the wrong ones or one too many, but as a whole, looking at what he did in that game, I was actually quite impressed. So it wasn't too much of a concern for me.
Yeah, for you, Angelina, is it harsh to blame Ugarte for that goal with Richarlison? Obviously, he's playing him on side. He's probably trying to be on the line, but is it a bit harsh to suggest that you could have run off the pitch, like you're nearly there, just step off, so he would have been offside, or it's a bit harsh in the moment?
I just think that you have to look at his game overall wasn't good enough. So, yeah, you can say maybe that's a little bit harsh, but I think, overall, he's supposed to be good at stopping opposition, and he's failed to do it. Odegaard ran off Ugarte pretty easily, and the rest is history. So I think it is just frustrating. And like Crookie said, the deep dive in The Athletic, he turned to him and said, you're not the player that I know from Sporting, which is quite interesting.
And it showed in his team selections, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I've never really rated him. I don't think I've ever really seen anything that does enough for me, and it is frustrating that there is one part of his game that he's supposed to be good at, and he failed to do that on the day.
Crookie, Benjamin Sesko, and I want to talk about Benjamin Sesko in a little bit more detail. You said there you were told, of course, that his knee injury isn't as bad, which is good. There's a lot of reports claiming that now as well, which is good to see. How do you think he's done so far, Crookie? There was some United fans as well that were suggesting. And I say some, maybe it's a loud minority. Oh, could he have stayed on, leaving us with 10 men? Big pushback from a lot of other fans saying, "Guys, come on, his knees could be done if he stays on and he's out for 6 more weeks or 6 months. Who knows?" What did you think about that? And what have you made of him overall? What's your assessment of Benjamin Sesko in these opening months of the season?
Yeah, I wouldn't pillory him for going off, because you say we didn't know the severity of the injury at that stage, and there was always a risk of making it worse. Obviously, it's not easy to see out a game with 10 men. We actually spoke last week in quite some detail about Sesko, and obviously reacting to Gary Neville's comments that maybe he's had a bit of an underwhelming start to his Manchester United career. We all backed him, but he frustrated me with those 2 chances.
Yeah.
I just felt it was a game changer. Particularly the first one. It was such a good ball from Mason Mount. If he just runs onto it, takes it in his stride, it should be 2-0 and game over. And the second one, just dithered getting the shot away, and that would worry me, because that suggests to me that he is struggling a little bit with confidence and the pressure of that shirt. And there is an argument, I think, to suggest that United have looked better at times this season when they've not played with a number 9. It worked to perfection at Anfield. It worked for a lot of this game. But when you spent £70-odd million on the centre forward, you need to find a way to utilise him. And I think Ruben Amorim had to come out this week, as he did, and say, look, this is the guy that we're going to have to get behind for the future. This is going to be Manchester United's number 9 for some years to come. But I think it might just be a few months of integrating before we really see the best of Benjamin Sesko.
Is he more raw than you maybe thought, Ryan? What your impression of him on the way in, and the hype and the noise? He's been coveted for the last couple of summers. Maybe need to go into Arsenal, then signing a new deal, staying. Talk to one of the hottest strikers, young strikers, up and coming strikers in Europe. That hype versus what you see or what you've seen, is it about right for you? Do you see someone who's young and raw with years to go, or did you expect to see more by now?
I think he's about right. Honestly, I think having the pleasure to do things like this, and we've spoken to several European experts, and they kind of gave us the heads up, didn't they? That he's not the finished product. Which,
a slow burner almost.
Yeah,
said it, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly that. So, should he be tucking chances like that away? Yes, he should be. Look, you can look at incidents within games and moments in games in isolation and say, you should have done better there, son. Don't get me wrong. But I think as a whole, he's progressing as you would expect. If you think about, so who have been the two most successful performers in terms of the people we brought in? It's Cunha and Mbeumo. Now, you look at the amount of minutes that they've spent in the Premier League, there's no coincidence that they look like they're gelling into the squad better. I think Sesko's played 10% of what, 5% of what Mbeumo's played and 10% of what Cunha's played in terms of minutes. He's played about 600 minutes in the Prem. So you're looking at somebody who is definitely adjusting to the Premier League and to this system and to a new country, as I said before. Now, he should be taking that chance away, but I don't think we're getting a striker right now. If he's not going to get 20 Premier League goals this season. No. That's not what we're getting here. No. He's going to be working in a very fluid system with 2 10s and potentially a lot of rotation. I think we've seen that now, that sometimes he's just not going to be picked, and that in itself is very telling that Ruben Amorim doesn't trust him to be the main man all the time right now. It's not like we've got an Erling Haaland up front. So I think it's going as expected for me. But naturally, he's going to come under a lot of pressure if he's missing chances like that. But leave it up to the other fan bases to criticise him. That's what I've said about that. Exactly, we need to protect him right now. And just know what we're getting in Sesko, which is a future, like you say, up-and-coming hot prospect.
Someone else that Ruben Amorim doesn't seem to trust at the minute is Joshua Zirkzee. Unused sub again. Really, really limited for minutes. There's been reports that he could be looking to leave in January and potentially looked to leave at the end of last summer. How did you, if Sesko is injured, is this an opportunity for Joshua Zirkzee to come in, or do you think you just see more of the same in Amorim's thinking, which is when he's not fit, I'm putting Cunha up front?
I mean, one thing that we've seen is that if Ruben Amorim doesn't rate someone, then he's not going to play them. And as much as I feel sorry for Zirkzee, I think he had a bit of a rough ride last season, showed a lot of really good mentality kind of coming back from him. It was the Newcastle game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So it's a tough one because he's a Manchester United player. As far as we're aware, he isn't going anywhere yet, maybe in January. So, you want all your players to do well and you want to utilise all your players. I think it's tough that we're only having one game a week at the moment, so there isn't really much space for rotation. But if Joshua Zirkzee is not in Ruben Amorim's long-term plans, and I don't think he is, then there's no point. And I get it's harsh on the player, but there's no point. Why are we trying something? If he wants him gone ASAP, then stick with the players that we've got. Mason Mount is somebody who needs minutes, and I thought that I thought he played really well. He had great touch. You've got Cunha, you've got Mbeumo. I think that we have enough to kind of tinker with a couple of things and switch things up and move things around with the players that we have. Obviously, if somebody else gets injured, then it's a different story, but I don't really see the point in trying with Zirkzee. And I understand that this might sound harsh, but I just don't see the point in us trying to slot him in if he's not in the long-term plans.
Crook, are you surprised that Zirkzee hasn't got more opportunities? If Benjamin Sesko's struggling a little bit with some of the things that Joshua Zirkzee does offer, which is security on in possession. He can take the ball, he can look after the ball. Yes, he's not a high volume scorer, he's not the most mobile, but when he is confident, we have seen flashes of him being quite an intelligent player. Would you have expected him to get a little bit more of a run, or can you see why it is Cunha that Amorim's going for in the absence of Sesko?
No, I think when you spend so much money on Cunha, you need to find a way to use him. I think it's pretty clear that Joshua Zirkzee long term is not going to be the answer. He's got qualities that you've mentioned that I admire. I think he's got a tremendous touch at times, and he has come on and been able to look after the ball, particularly last season when United was sort of clinging on for precious points at the end of games. But I don't think Ruben Amorim particularly has a lot of faith in his ability, certainly not his goal-scoring ability, and that was ultimately what he was signed for. I'm not sure he'll go in January just because of what we've been talking about, the sort of lack of potential incomings, the fact that we're going to lose players for AFCON duty as well. So I think they're going to want to try and keep this squad together. But I don't see that Zirkzee has a future beyond the end of the season. And I think he's fallen right down the pecking order. The fact that they went out so early in the League Cup hasn't helped, because you'd have thought he might have got minutes in that competition.
On a positive though, guys, said before the game that, we're going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with the manager of the month, but also the player of the month. And Bryan Mbeumo, again, he has the inevitable celebration now. How good has he been Ryan. People questioning at the time, why is it taking so long to sign him? Remember, there was like a counter. It was like, it's been 8 weeks since our initial interest. We still haven't got this deal done, this, that, and the other. Then it was, he scored 20 goals for Brentford, typical Man United. They think he's going to do it for you, this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, no one's really talking about Bryan Mbeumo anymore in a negative way.
Yeah.
No one's talking about a price tag. It's all gone a bit quiet because he's just quietly, just not quietly, but he's just doing his thing.
Yeah, do you know what? In Bryan Mbeumo, we've got one of the best players in the Premier League.
It's that simple,
It
isn't it?
is as simple as that. Yeah. He is one of the magic men. I've seen multiple conversations about who are the magic men in the Premier League, and you hear Erling Haaland's name come up. I'd argue Bruno Fernandes over the last couple of seasons.
Mo Salah.
Yeah, Mo Salah, of course.
Owen Hargreaves on comms, and he said, Owen Hargreaves said this. Obviously, he's not as good as Salah has been, but he reminds me of him. That's what Owen Hargreaves said.
Yeah, it's like you say.
Which is crazy.
It's that efficiency, though.
Context, we need context.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying, though, because, and I'm putting Bryan Mbeumo in that conversation because you say 20 goals for Brentford last season. Unbelievable, and you think, oh, right, well, he's got the right men around him, he understands the system, he understands the manager. You plonk him in to this massive club with a new manager. There's similarities in the system, sure, but you expect one thing and one thing only from him, which is goal contributions and directness, and you get that from him every single game. And by the way, headers now, do you know what I mean? Like it just, and by the way, that goal, his header, he kind of identified early on with those two centre-backs that there'd be a bit of a wrestle there. So he peels off to the back post, kind of unmarked. And obviously it's good now to pick him out. So you've got that intelligence in the box in him as well. And the header was brilliant. So we're looking at one of the best players in the Premier League, Flex. It's as simple as that, in my opinion.
It's so refreshing. Like, when he has the ball, the ball's on his way to him.
You don't feel nervous.
Exactly what I was going to... You read my mind. I'm like, he's going to be fine. He's not going to lose it. They're not going to be able to get the ball off him. He's either going to win a foul.
You'd be thinking, what's the first touch going to be like? Is it going to be okay? Yeah.
It's just so... And then when him and Mbeumo are in... Sorry, when him and Cunha are in Tangent and you got Ahmad there as a sort of trio, I just look at them and I'm just like, this just doesn't hurt my eyes anymore. Like, this is just such a difference from, somebody like Garnacho, who did all right the other day, actually, Garnacho against Wolves. But... It's it's such a stark... because I don't want to just keep throwing shade at him because he's left. And
he did well against the worst team in the league. Good for him.
He did well against Wolves.
With his little celebration. Good for him,
He sat on the wall. But Mbeumo's been a breath of fresh air, hasn't he, Ange? And buying from within the Premier League, player of the month. Has he been our signing of the summer? Because you talk about Lamans as well, about the difference between Onana and him. But Mbeumo's obviously been playing more games because Lamans took a couple of months or a few weeks anyway to get going. Who's been our signing in the summer?
So I really like Lamans, obviously, because he's performing so well. I think the issue is it's hard to kind of gauge how good he is because we've been subjected to Andre Onana and Bayern. Like, we're used to such poor standards. Like, he makes a double save and we're like, oh my God, and the fans are doing it in the stadium.
He absolutely should make as well.
Yeah, and it's, maybe he's just doing what normal Premier League goalkeeper should do, but I'm really enjoying it and I think that it's amazing and I think he's going to, win some kind of award at some point. But, that's because of what we've been conditioned to. But I really like him. I also liked with the De Ligt goal in the injury time that when he came up for it, the Spurs players just forgot what they were doing and were like, oh my God, there's a goalkeeper here. We must run to him. We must flock around the goalkeeper. And De Ligt's like, thanks, mate. Just going to head this in. I really do like him. But Bryan Mbeumo, of course, he's been the signing of the summer for us. He's just... And it's no criticism to Cunha because... It's not like he's been terrible, but I guess when it comes to taking games by the scruff of the neck and just getting the goals in, and Mbeumo is ahead of him in that way. But he's just kind of carrying on as though he's, still at Brentford. And
he's kind of carrying us a bit as well, like in that attack, because he's so consistent and dependable. Like, he just has a level of work rate. I was watching him sprint. When you're up in the gantry, you can see everything. Off the ball, it wouldn't have been on TV because you wouldn't have been in that shot. We lose the ball. I'm talking like Olympic, like hands up, head back, that sprint,
that kind of running,
wings back, like
aerodynamic run. Like, I need to get back in for the team. Like, he's just got this work rate. I mean, Crookie, for you, has he been our summer signing? Has he been our signing of the summer? Should I say?
Yeah, no question about it. I think he's got so many qualities. Obviously, the ability to score goals, but the ability to carry the ball great distances and therefore ease the pressure on the defence. I think he's a really intelligent play. You look at his link-up play with the likes of Cunha in particular, and obviously we've seen it with Ahmad in such glowing terms at Anfield. So yeah, I think he's been tremendous, and actually is a better player maybe than I even realised at Brentford, where obviously his numbers were very good. And I did say to you, he always used to score against Spurs.
Yeah,
You did.
Especially at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well.
Yeah, and kept that run going. So yeah, he's been terrific. I would echo what Ange said. We're probably going to pick out our sort of player of the seasons, but Matthijs de Ligt to me has really stepped up as well. Although I do think he could have got a little bit closer, or maybe got too close for the goal that Tell scored.
Yeah.
Maybe if he just backs off a little bit, that becomes a more difficult finish.
He did get turned. Yeah, he
plays with him as well. That's why that's frustrating. He knows
Give him a little
him.
nod as well to say, he done me there. He done me there. I did see. I was fanboying Bryan Mbeumo afterwards. Quick little selfie because I saw him in the flash bit.
Nice.
But then Thomas Frank walked past me and went up to Bryan because it's international break. They're all with their suitcases ready to actually go off. So he was trying to leave. So I like, that kind of thing of like, I'll leave you to it.
Yeah.
Like, because he was like, mate, all right, you've had your selfie. Yeah, off you go.
Yeah.
We big men need to talk here. Yeah.
You were just lingering around like, hey guys,
so I was like,
what we talking about?
You guys want to catch up? I want to see what you guys are talking about. Your time at Brentford and that. And I was like, time for me to go.
See myself out.
Yeah. But they had what my point was that they had a nice good long chat afterwards. They were like,
that
Thomas Frank
tried to be a part of.
I was trying to eavesdrop and see what's going on, and my time was time to get out of there. I also want to talk about de Ligt as well, actually, because he does, like you say, he got done a bit getting too close to Tell. However, mentality monster, finds a way to get us back into the game when we've looked like we've essentially thrown it away, and in general in the game. We talk about how quiet Richarlison was, and a large part of that was due to the aggressive nature of Matthijs de Ligt, the front foot defending, winning his duels, really powerful along the ground, in the air. He's just been excellent this season, but in this game in particular, how did you think he did against Spurs?
Breath of fresh air, to be honest with you. And I'm just so happy for him. Dare I say, it feels like, because he's had such it's such an interesting career when you look at de Ligt, and in certain clubs the fans loved him, in certain clubs they didn't. But I think he may have found his home now, de Ligt, because the Manchester United fans are starting to get behind him, and I think it's that centre back that we've been craving for, that we've been longing for a long time. Dare I say again, maybe that centre back we were hoping we were going to get when we signed Maguire for 80 million. He looks like he is that calibre, and in this game he was first to everything. It's a shame he let himself down. Don't get me wrong for that talent.
Yeah.
I was frustrated, Ange, I'm not going to lie, but. As you say, mentality monster to peel off to the back post. And by the way, that set piece is something that Manchester United clearly was off the training ground, because they're all at the back post. They like
proper
you said,
Arsenal, that was.
Yeah. The goalkeeper spits on his gloves for some reason in the box. I think he forgot where he was. But then they all go to the front post, and then that just gives de Ligt a chance to peel off to the back post and head it in. And as I say, I'm really, really pleased for him. And I do think he's found his home in Manchester United, because I can see the fans really getting behind him. Yeah. And he's solid and he's consistent. And I just love that.
And he cares.
And he cares.
He does. I know people don't really like doing this about our players, because we're still seen as you were 15th. You don't even know if your manager's going to stay here. You're Man United. You're but actually, he's been one of the best centre halves in the league this year.
Yeah,
obviously you've got your normal top names like Saliba, Gabriel, Konate, Van Dijk, etc. Even people Romero and all this stuff, but Van de Ven. But like de Ligt has been like up there as like top 5 performers at centre back, maybe even higher. If we're being honest with how consistent he's been, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you mentioned Van Dijk. The main thing that
I'm terrible this season.
The main thing I'm thinking about him is, every time we talk about Bruno and people talk about him being petulant and being childish, take a look at Virgil van Dijk. That is all I will say, because if Bruno's getting stick for that, then he should be getting just as much stick, because he's been awful and he is a child. But anyway, de Ligt, absolutely brilliant. And I just think it's a really nice story of him finally coming good. He's had a really rough ride of it. He, really stepped up to the plate at Ajax at 19 years of age and helped lead that team. It's not worked out at Juventus by me. So the mentality to keep going, I think you have to commend him on that. But yeah, he's been brilliant. I enjoy watching him play. Like I say, he understands the weight of the Manchester United shirt. Interesting that Crookie, maybe you'll know, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's not in the leadership team, is he? And I thought that he'd have been slotted in by now. But, maybe that's, a different conversation. But he seems like a leader on the pitch.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, the leadership group does change. Maybe the thinking was that they wanted to just allow him to play his football without that extra responsibility. But yeah, he certainly is a player who leads by examples. Do you know what? That's the big difference, actually, to this Manchester United team, to the one that Ruben Amorim inherited. And we are talking, aren't we, on the 1-year anniversary of him coming in.
Yeah.
There are so many leaders. Cunha is a leader. Did you watch the video that he put up of him sort of doing a tour of the training ground?
Yeah, it was brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
just the way that his personality radiates. That United dressing room has been lacking that. I've spoken about Bruno Fernandes. What people might not like a lot of the stuff he does on the pitch, but certainly off the pitch, he is everything you want from a Manchester United captain. Maguire, with the way that he's sort of built his career back up again, has shown great leadership skills. De Ligt is another. Yeah. And I see Mbeumo a little bit like that as well, to be fair. So, yeah, there's a lot more personality in that dressing room, and De Ligt certainly embodies that.
Because Yoro spoke about it, didn't he? Because he's done an interview, and because I'd pulled one or two of the quotes, because he said, we cannot build something with bad energy or bad atmosphere or bad characters. The thing that's good here is that there is no group of friends in the team. And we heard that a lot, didn't we? Oh my God, what's the guy out of the bomb squad that we didn't sell? His name's completely escaped me. Yes, thank you, Malacia. That he was almost guilty by association because he was in Rashford's clique.
Didn't even do anything.
Ridiculous. But he was apparently in Rashford's little clique, and he was like guilty by association almost. But you did hear things about how there were certain groups, and he said, this is just one group of friends. Like, we're just one whole team, and we're all together, and we're all pally, and we all get along, and getting rid of those kind of bad vibes. And I'm not trying to shade the players that have gone with that, but just the energy that was clearly there last season, that they have worked on getting rid of that. And there's a lot of stuff that's been going on behind the scenes, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been that big culture shift, hasn't it? Which is what we're trying to do. That's why it's going to take a while to build what we're trying to get to. Right. So Saturday saw us complete our 11th game of the season. Okay, so we're at another international break. We're 7th, just 1 point off top 4 now, and we want to rank the season at the minute out of 10 so far. And we're going to do a few little awards as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is how we're looking. 11 games played. We've got 18 points, 5 wins, 3 losses, and 3 draws. We've scored 19, and we've conceded 18. So we're in +1. We were in negative a lot of last year.
Yes.
We'll take +1. Liverpool are on +1 as well. So nothing to shout about because I've had a bad season. But, that's where we're coming from to where we're trying to go. I want to do player of the season so far. We're going to go round the room. We're going to start with you, Ryan. Who's been our player of the season so far?
Is it boring to say Mbeumo?
It's not boring.
Because we
might all say Mbeumo.
Well,
that's okay.
That makes me feel better because, like you saying, it's actually a great point that you made there. It got my cogs turning. When you actually think about the amount of money that we've pumped into the attack, without Mbeumo and without his directness and his contributions at times, sometimes solo, sometimes his link play, we wouldn't be where we are. We wouldn't have done all those stats that you just said. He is actually grabbing this team, this attack by the scruff of the neck and connecting things together. Now, Cunha has done some brilliant performances as well. Sesko, as we say, it's a work in progress, and he's not starting every game. But Mbeumo is a guaranteed starter. Yeah. He's a one constant. He's won us over already. Think how hard that is to do, at Manchester United. He's won us over already. And I can't look anywhere else but him. And you just look at that, as I say, that header, the intelligence in the box to peel to the back post, encapsulate just how fantastic he's been this season. Player of the month. I think he's been the signing in the Premier League of the season, not just Manchester United signing of the season. And I'm going to say he's been our best player, guys. So, bit boring. I know that because we spoke about him, but I can't look anywhere else.
We're going to fly through these because we've got quite a few to do. So, are you seconding that, Ange?
Yeah, I mean, me and Ryan don't just have the same fashion taste when it comes to jumpers because we've not acknowledged that we're basically wearing the same.
That's true.
We're all very monochromatic today. I'm liking
we're
it.
In sync. We're in sync.
But we're in sync about that as well because Bryan Mbeumo, for me, you've kind of said it all there.
Crookie player of the season, is it Bryan Mbeumo or is it someone else?
No, it's Mbeumo with an honourable mention for Matthijs de Ligt.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of honourable mentioned, who's the most underappreciated player so far? Is it not de Ligt because we actually do appreciate him?
Maybe.
Do you know who I'm going to say?
Who?
Luke Shaw.
I was thinking Luke Shaw.
Luke Shaw. And the reason why I'm going to say Luke Shaw is because we've all been there of always injured, can't believe he's still here, can't believe he got contract extension. What's going on? He's wavering, But one thing I've always said is that when he is fit, which I know is a huge caveat, and that's closed brackets in itself. But when he's fit, he's fine. He's a good, competent defender, and I think left centre back really suits him. I can't see him now at this stage of his career with the type of injuries he's had, bombing up and down the left wing back and getting up and down. That's not going to be suited for him.
Yeah.
But in the absence of Lisandro Martinez, which we'll talk about in the last section really quickly when he comes back. But I think Luke Shaw's been dependable. Don't get me wrong, Brentford and Man City were monstrosity performances for everyone, but he had 2 bad ones. But other than that, he just gives you that you don't even really talk about him that much.
He's just been ticking along nicely, hasn't
he?
I get
Defends the box
that.
quite well. He's decent on the ball, reads the game quite well. He's physical, decent in the air for his size. So my underappreciated player so far is Luke Shaw.
I would agree with you on that. I would maybe go Mason Mount because I feel like, I think we do appreciate most of our players, but Mason Mount, when he's been called up, when he's been on the pitch, I think that he's done his thing, he's done his job, he's provided us with some really nice moments. So I guess the way that he came into the club, we were all thinking, because we didn't play 3-4-3, we were all thinking, why the hell have we bought this guy? Yeah. And the second that Amorim got appointed, it was like, it makes sense. This is a player that can work in this system, and despite the injuries and everything that's been going on, I think he's put in a good shift.
Wait, who's yours actually?
Well, I'm gonna chuck
because there's someone player. I've just gone. I've gone. What have I just done?
I'm going Casemiro, mate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Casemiro because
it actually is him.
But I feel like we do appreciate
because we're like, as soon as he leaves the pitch, what we're gonna do?
We do appreciate him. However,
it's got to be the under the radar.
We talk about Maguire's mentality, and how he was, chastised and all that stuff, but. Casemiro had one of the most iconic quotes to come out of the season: "Leave the football before the football leaves you." We all writ him off, and I give players. I didn't write Luke Shaw off. I thought there was a way back for him. Yeah, I give players opportunities to come back. I never gave Casemiro that chance.
We do have a most improved award though.
I don't think he's necessarily improved. I just think he had a bit of a ropey season last season because his first season was unbelievable.
Okay,
so I'm going Casemiro as underappreciated.
Who are you going for underappreciated, Crookie?
Do you know what I'm going to say, Lomans? I think the impact he's made since coming in, just the belief that you've got when the ball is crossed into the penalty area, that this goalkeeper might actually catch it rather than cause chaos. And I think he's just instilled so much belief in that defensive line. He's not made many spectacular saves. He made one really good one at Spurs at the weekend, but he just does his job efficiently. And I think, for 15 million quid? Thanks to Tony Coton, largely. I think that could be a bargain.
Yeah, okay. Right, let's fly through these now. Who needs more minutes? I think we might all agree on this one.
Mainu.
Crookie? Mainu. Full house for Mainu. And who's been most improved? I'm going to say from where they were to where they are now. It's not Dallo, it's not Dorgu. Lenny Yoro's, no. Harry Maguire. It's probably Casemiro. Because of where he was last year. Don't get me wrong, it was tactics and left on an island and stuff, but...
I mean, when your wife's having to come out with Instagram posts to defend you, that is some tough times, man.
So... But you're right, it probably isn't because he's got loads better. But Ruben Amorim did speak about it. He was like, this time last year, Casemiro was behind Toby Collier. Actually,
I'm with you.
Yeah. I'm going to go Casemiro. Who are you going with?
I'll go De Ligt because I just think he's on an upward trajectory, so that makes sense for improving.
Ange?
Yeah, I'm going with you, Casemiro.
Crookie, most improved?
I'm going to say Casemiro as well. Actually, I've got a story in the notebook this week about the fact that United would like him to extend his contract, albeit not on the huge wages he's on at the moment. But that is some turnaround. I think if you'd asked most United fans at the end of last season, would you like Casemiro to stay or go? Overwhelmingly, they would have said go. But he looks leaner, he looks fitter, he's able to have more of an impact on games. Listen, obviously, he's been a world-class player in the past, but we didn't get the best version of Casemiro last season. We're getting somewhere like it now.
Yeah. The last one for this section is the prediction for the end of the season. I.e., we will be in the top 5. We will get Champions League. We will get Europe. We will win a trophy. Amorim will still be there. Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Which I think that will happen. But,
so just open it up to what we think the headlines will be.
Give me a prediction for the end of the season.
I think we will finish.
Got to give a position, the producer just said to me.
Oh, wow.
He's not having it. He's no fence sitting.
I think we'll finish about 6th. And Ruben Amorim, I think we'd have seen a lot more positive signs. I don't think there'll be too many disaster classes between now and the end of the season because he's showing that he can adapt tactically. So I think we finish 6th and have a steady season.
Crookie, for you, what's your prediction for the season? What position are you going for?
I said 5th at the start of the season, and a lot of our talkSPORT colleagues laughed at me. But it's there, isn't it? It's there. If they won the game,
it's there.
If they won the game at the weekend, I think they'd be 3rd.
Yeah,
so
2nd maybe. Oh yeah, 3rd. Yeah, 3rd.
And they've got a lot of difficult games out the way. Already played Arsenal at home, been to Anfield, been to the Etihad, played Chelsea at home, been to Spurs. I'm going to stick with it. I think 5th, and that'll be enough for Champions League football.
Yeah, I'm going to go. That 6th one, yeah. I think at the beginning of the season, I was like, the ceiling is 6th. But
my ceiling was just top 10.
Just
so
well,
You're
yeah, but
so
we're past
pessimistic.
that. We're past that now.
I know.
You're normally the positive one, but I think now I've had a look at it, and I've been in some bad places, and now I've calmed down.
I'm glad you're admitting it.
Yeah, I've calmed down now. Top 5. I'm going 5th. I'm going to. No, 6th.
You know
What are you
what?
saying, Ange?
I've pulled the table up just for me to look at it and do
We're doing
some
all right.
I'm just doing some girl math in my head here.
Girl math.
I think I'm with Crookie with 5th. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that?
Because I don't think, looking at the table as it is, I don't think Sunderland will keep this up. I don't think Villa will keep this up. So that already puts us in 5th as things stand. Yeah, I'm going to go 5th.
Lock
Why
it
not?
in. Lock it
Why
in.
not?
Yeah.
She's locked in. Okay. And just before we finish off last section of the show with another international break back on Horizon, of course, we've got a little bit more time to discuss any other business topics. The first one is that Lisandro Martinez is on his way back in, which is great to see. He's back in training. He's travelled with Argentina to the US, not all the way to South America, but he's gone to the US. I think it is where they're playing, just to step it up because he's been back in first team training. Do we need to be careful? Well, we do need to be careful with him. How quickly do we want to see him return? And when he does, is it just thank you for your services, Luke Shaw, and we're back to Leacher?
I think you drip feed him back into the squad, which I think Ruben Amorim will do. But one thing that in terms of any other business, right, quickly that I wanted to discuss, and I can link it to Martinez because Martinez was pivotal to Ruben Amorim's kind of idea of long balls over the top. If anyone's wondering why, I suppose there's so many elements to it, but why Manchester United all of a sudden were 5 unbeaten, it's because Ruben Amorim has adapted his tactics. So we're basically in our back 4, in our back line, only 30%. That's only 30% of our action area at the moment. What Ruben Amorim's doing is he's doing a long ball, which 23 long balls per game is what we're averaging, which is 76% more than last season. So that's how much of a drastic change that is. We're not necessarily playing out from the back. And also something as well is only, let's say Liverpool, for example, only 8 of those long balls were successful. But what we're doing is we're planning and banking on winning the second ball. That's a massive change to building up from the back, which is what is expected. So what Amorim's done there is he's identified essentially
that we're rubbish from playing out from the back.
Exactly.
So just go long.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. And it's part Lamens as well. Don't get me wrong. And I think when Martinez returns, see how I link it all the way back.
Yeah, I like this.
When Martinez returns, I think with that wonder of a left foot that he's got potentially over the top, I think that elevates us to another level if we get a fit Martinez and we can keep him fit. Luke Shaw, as you mentioned, is doing a fantastic job in that role, and I'm so pleased for him. But I think we drip feed him back in and out. Obviously, he's a bit injury prone, so we've got to make sure. But it could be huge news for us in terms of that back
and
three.
Just before he got injured, he was having that little period where he was really good.
Yeah.
And for you, Ange, you've caught up with another Man United legend last week. Who was it, and what did they have to say?
Well, last week it was two legends in 1 week because I
You're on a
spoke
roll.
to. I know. I don't know who else I'm going to meet. I'm very excited. Spoke to Bryan Robson last Monday. We played some of that out on the show. Spoke to Dimitar Berbatov on Thursday. That was really good. He's a real character, really fun to speak to. He is a massive fan of The Godfather.
Really?
He learned English by watching the Godfather films.
He is quite. That probably explains his persona really cool.
He looks like, is it Andy Garcia in the third one?
Yeah.
He has a bit of a look, and he was joking, be like maybe 10 years ago. Got him doing some Godfather impressions.
Oh, no way.
He was brilliant. He was such a good sport. But yeah, we were talking about Sesko saying he's cautiously optimistic and understands that transition from the Bundesliga to the Premier League, but also says, you have to understand the weight of wearing the Manchester United shirt, and he's got to kind of push through this. And I think Ruben Amorim's spoken about it as well, hasn't he? About how when he's getting the stick, he's perhaps, taking it a little bit personal sometimes, and he's had to try and help him with that.
Before we wrap up, I want to talk about the next 5 fixtures really quickly after the international break, because some United fans have gone, I'll tell you what, really favourable run this and that. A bit too dangerous for me to be doing all that. I don't see anything as favourable. I just, game by game, that's where I'm at. But the next 5 fixtures are, we'll go to you first on this, Crookie. Everton at home, Palace away, West Ham home, Wolves away, and Bournemouth home. You're looking at that. How many points are you looking at, or what sort of results are you targeting there?
Well, Everton's got to be a win.
Definitely.
To
That's
keep that
3.
good home form going. So's West Ham.
Yeah, that's
despite
6.
the fact I've seen them, their last 2 games, they've improved under Nuno, but their record at Old Trafford is pretty poor. Palace away, you probably take a point, I think.
Agreed.
It's Selhurst Park, tough place to go.
So that's
Wolves away is a
7.
win. Wolves away is a win.
10.
I've got a lot of time for Rob Edwards, but he's got a massive job on his hands there. And Bournemouth at home, if they got a point out of that, would that be terrible?
No.
No.
I'm with you on that.
Take a point.
So you're saying we're only dropping 2 points. So you've got 13 points out of that.
Is that right? Well, I've got Everton win, West Ham win, Wolves win. That's 9, and then Palace
draw.
and Bournemouth points. That's 11.
Sorry, 11 you got. So you got 11. Yeah, I think that's. I think
Yeah, there's no
I think
losses
Palace.
in there,
Yeah, exactly.
so-
I think Palace definitely. That's the one you do look at and go, you could draw.
100%.
You could even lose, but.
Yeah.
The way we're going in the away games against the teams that we don't usually win against, but if we do get what Crookie just said, that'll be 10 games unbeaten. And when you look at that run, I know it's on paper, you do expect us to beat Everton at home, you do expect us to beat West Ham at home, you do expect
you're
us
getting
to
excited.
I'm just the producer's in my ear. He's in my ear. I'm just saying it is and Bournemouth at home by then, I know it's a tough one, but it's like the Brighton one, and it's like they're tough, but turn up on the day, you should be beating them.
Yeah.
And listen, we can't avoid we can't afford to have any more losses, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I think we should give Amorim a little round of applause, because he's now finally won more games, 22, than he's lost, 21.
That's a round of applause.
Oh my goodness.
And he's
you
now
seen
lost
it-
less than Ernie Slot, hasn't he? In 2050
Yeah,
at
yes.
I was
2025.
going to say that's the other slot. The other stat, rather.
The other slot.
The other slot.
Fewer defeats than the malfunctioning slot at Anfield. At this
Yeah,
moment.
exactly.
Yeah, so we need to keep this trajectory going. Do you know what I mean?
We do. We're in the last 30 seconds of the show. Do you agree with that run? Are you targeting exactly that? Little point at Palace and the rest all wins?
I don't. So essentially, there's only one team there I think we can lose to, and that's Palace. So I'm looking at that game with an eyebrow raised. I don't necessarily think we'll win all of them, but I do think 4 out of 5 of those games we can certainly aim to get points from, and I think we should be winning the home games. So I'm kind of with Crookie, I'll be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Evans, they're no mugs, but I think at the international break, we're confident.
It's all tough. It's all tough.
Every single game's tough.
Yeah.
Who knows? Even Wolves by then might be doing all right. Who knows? It's in 4 games' time we play them. So there you go. Right. A big shout out to each and every single one of you on the panel. Angelina, Ryan, and of course Crookie, who couldn't be bothered to be here. Any plans for the rest of the day, Crookie? Chilling?
I'm literally about to jump on White and Jordan, and then I've got meetings this afternoon. It
He
never
is
stops.
Meetings.
And
Meetings.
busy.
Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
all right. This has been Inside Devils, guys, and we'll see you on another episode very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.